Imagine a mind that holds the key to your destiny, a mind capable of shaping not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Today I want to take you on a journey into the hidden depths of human psychology, tricks, insights, and truths that often go unnoticed yet wield immense power. The way we think, the way we perceive, the habits we cultivate, and the emotions we nurture, these are not random, they are tools waiting for us to understand and master. Every thought we entertain, every belief we hold, quietly influences our actions and our relationships. The power to change our life lies first in awareness, in the courage to confront the patterns within ourselves. And as we become aware, we gain a remarkable ability, the ability to shape our responses, to harness our mind, rather than be enslaved by it. But knowing oneself is only the beginning. The true strength comes in understanding others, in recognizing that empathy is not merely a feeling, but a tool of immense influence. When we see the world through another's eyes, when we listen and truly hear, we unlock doors to connection, trust, and cooperation that no force can break. Habits, small and seemingly insignificant, have the power to define our destiny. Every choice, every repeated action lays the foundation for who we become. Yet, even in our routines, our thoughts and our interactions, unseen forces, biases, fears, and doubts try to steer us astray. Awareness and reflection are the shields that allow us to rise above them. I invite you to explore the psychology that governs our lives, to learn how visualization, intentional action, and perspective can transform obstacles into opportunities, to see that resilience is not just endurance, but the art of perceiving every challenge as a lesson, every setback as a guidepost. And in doing so, you will discover a truth that I have seen across the struggles and triumphs of humanity. The mind, when understood and directed with wisdom and compassion, becomes not a source of limitation, but an instrument of liberation. Today, we will uncover the secrets within our own minds and the minds of others, and in that uncovering lies the power to shape our reality, to inspire change, and to live a life of purpose and impact. This is the journey of human psychology, and it begins with a simple yet profound act of understanding yourself and the world around you. Understanding oneself is the beginning of all wisdom, yet it is a journey that few truly embark upon. To know your own mind is to hold the first key to mastery over your life. Each thought, each emotion, each reaction is a thread in the intricate fabric of your existence. And only when you take the time to observe them without judgment can you begin to weave them into a life of intention and purpose. Self-awareness is not a fleeting glance at your behavior. It is the deep, deliberate act of examining the motives behind your actions, the patterns that repeat in your decisions, and the emotions that rise and fall within you. It requires courage, for in facing yourself honestly, you encounter both strengths and weaknesses, both light and shadow. Reflection is the mirror in which you see not just who you are, but who you have the power to become. By taking moments to pause, to ask why you react as you do, and to question the narratives you tell yourself, you gain insight into the invisible forces that shape your life. Habits that once felt automatic, choices that seemed unchangeable begin to reveal themselves as malleable. In this awareness lies freedom, the freedom to choose differently, to act deliberately, and to step into the life you aspire to lead. The mind is a garden, and self-awareness is the act of tending it. Thoughts and emotions, left unattended, grow wild and unruly, often dictating your actions without your conscious consent. But through reflection, observation, and honest inquiry, you begin to cultivate clarity, to recognize the weeds of fear, doubt, and negativity, and to nurture the seeds of courage, resilience, and hope. Each insight gained through self-awareness strengthens the connection between intention and action, allowing you to move through life with purpose rather than being swept along by circumstance. Self-awareness also deepens your understanding of others. When you recognize your own biases, triggers, and patterns, you gain empathy for the experiences of those around you. Relationships transform, as understanding yourself equips you to listen more deeply, to respond with compassion, and to influence positively without coercion. The lessons you learn within the mind ripple outward, touching every interaction, every choice, and every relationship. Ultimately, the journey of self-awareness is a journey toward freedom. It is the recognition that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we perceive it, how we respond to it, and how we allow it to shape our character. By embracing reflection as a daily practice, by observing the workings of your own mind without fear or judgment, you unlock the power to live intentionally, to act wisely, and to become the architect of your own destiny. The path is not easy, but it is transformative, for in knowing yourself deeply, you gain the power to transform your life, to influence the world around you, and to rise to the fullest expression of your human potential. Our thoughts are the invisible architects of our lives, quietly shaping our actions, our choices, and ultimately our destiny. Often we underestimate the power that a single thought can wield. A fleeting doubt may lead to hesitation, while a vision of possibility can ignite courage. It is within the mind that the seeds of both limitation and liberation are sown. To understand this is to understand that mastery over our thoughts is mastery over our life itself. Each thought we entertain sends ripples through our consciousness, influencing not only what we do, but how we perceive the world around us. Fearful thoughts create fear-filled actions. Hopeful thoughts foster hope-filled deeds. Our mental landscape is the soil from which our reality grows, and the quality of our thoughts determines the quality of the life we cultivate. When we consciously choose our thoughts, we begin to shape our behaviors, our habits, and our relationships with clarity and intention. Positive thinking is more than a temporary uplift or shallow optimism. It is a deliberate practice that fuels resilience and achievement. It is the lens through which we interpret challenges, the light that illuminates paths when the world seems dark. Positive thoughts do not deny hardship or erase struggle, but they allow us to meet difficulties with courage, to see opportunity where others see only obstacles, and to persist when the journey feels impossible. In this way, thoughts are not passive reflections of life. They are active forces that guide our actions and influence outcomes. Consider how a thought of self-doubt can quietly undermine potential. It whispers hesitation. It convinces us to retreat. And in its subtlety, it can derail dreams. Yet a single thought of possibility, of capability, can spark the courage to try, to act, and to persevere. Our inner dialogue is the foundation upon which every action is built. By cultivating thoughts that inspire confidence, hope, and determination, we give ourselves the power to act decisively and effectively. Moreover, our thoughts extend beyond ourselves, influencing those around us. Optimism is contagious. Encouragement can inspire effort. A person who sees the potential in others often brings out the best in them. Conversely, negativity can stifle motivation, erode confidence, and hinder collaboration. By directing our thoughts with care, we not only shape our own actions, but also the actions of those whose lives we touch. The practice of conscious thought is a lifelong discipline. It requires mindfulness, reflection, and the courage to challenge destructive patterns. Yet the rewards are profound. When we learn to observe our thoughts without becoming enslaved to them, when we replace fear with hope endowed with belief, we unlock the potential to act with clarity, integrity, and purpose. Our thoughts, once recognized and guided, become powerful instruments of transformation, capable of shaping not only our own lives, but the world around us. In the end, it is clear, the mind is not merely a vessel for experience, it is the engine of action. By mastering our thoughts, we master our responses, our choices, and ultimately the reality we create. The journey begins in the mind, but it is completed in the world through the power of intentional action. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools a human being can possess, yet it is often overlooked or undervalued. To truly understand another person is not merely to hear their words, but to perceive the emotions behind them, to recognize the experiences that have shaped their thoughts, and to feel in some measure what they feel. In a world that often prioritizes speed, competition, and self-interest, the ability to slow down, to listen deeply, and to connect on an emotional level is a rare and transformative gift. Empathy is not weakness, it is strength. It is the bridge that connects hearts and minds, the force that allows understanding to replace judgment and cooperation to replace conflict. When we practice empathy, we begin to see beyond our own perspective. We recognize that every individual carries a story, a history of joys and struggles, of victories and pain. By acknowledging these experiences, we honor the humanity in others, and in doing so, we create an environment where trust can flourish. Relationships, whether personal or professional, are strengthened when we approach them with a genuine desire to understand. The act of listening without interruption, of observing without immediate judgment, communicates respect and validation. It tells others that their thoughts and feelings matter and that their humanity is recognized. Compassion, born of empathy, is a psychological tool of profound influence. In situations of conflict, it allows us to step into another person's shoes and perceive the motivations behind their actions. When we respond with understanding rather than anger, when we offer support rather than blame, we transform tension into cooperation. Empathy softens the rigidity of disagreement, creating space for dialogue, reconciliation, and shared purpose. It does not mean abandoning principles or tolerating injustice, but it does mean addressing others with clarity, patience, and humanity, even in the midst of disagreement. Furthermore, empathy is not a finite resource. It grows stronger the more it is exercised. Each encounter in which we choose to listen deeply, to understand without judgment, and to respond with kindness strengthens our ability to connect meaningfully with others. It allows us to influence without manipulation, to lead without coercion, and to inspire without force. The ripple effects are immense. Families become closer, teams become stronger, and communities become more compassionate. Empathy also transforms the way we see ourselves. By understanding the struggles, fears, and hopes of others, we gain perspective on our own challenges. We learn patience, humility, and the value of service. Our emotional intelligence grows, and with it, our capacity for wise, deliberate action. It teaches us that leadership is not about power or authority, but about connection, trust, and the ability to elevate others. In the end, the art of empathy is the art of humanity itself. It is the conscious choice to recognize the feelings and needs of others, to respond with compassion, and to act in ways that nurture understanding and cooperation. By cultivating empathy, we not only transform the lives of those around us, but also deepen our own capacity for love, resilience, and meaningful impact. It is through empathy that we turn ordinary interactions into extraordinary opportunities for connection, growth, and lasting change. Habits are the silent architects of our destiny. Often we overlook the simple actions we repeat each day, yet these actions quietly shape the trajectory of our lives. Every choice we make, no matter how small, leaves an imprint on our mind and body, creating patterns that guide our future behavior. It is through these repeated actions that we build character, develop discipline, and ultimately determine the life we lead. Mastery over our habits is therefore mastery over our destiny. Consider the power of consistency. A single act performed once may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, it gains strength, forming neural pathways in the brain that make the action easier, more automatic, and more natural. This is the science of habit, the way our mind and body adapt to what we do regularly. Whether it is the habit of rising early, of practicing a skill, or of speaking with kindness, each repetition reinforces the pattern, gradually transforming effort into instinct. Over time, small intentional actions compound, producing results that far exceed what a single effort could achieve. Habits are not neutral. They carry the potential for either greatness or limitation. A habit of procrastination, of negativity, or of self-doubt quietly erodes potential, shaping a future constrained by inaction and fear. Conversely, habits of focus, persistence, and positivity create momentum that propels us toward success. The key lies in conscious choice, deciding which habits to cultivate, which to replace, and which to let go. By observing our daily routines and identifying patterns that serve or hinder us, we gain the power to redesign our lives from the inside out. Small actions, performed consistently, have extraordinary effects. Reading a few pages each day builds knowledge. A moment of reflection each morning builds clarity. A single act of kindness can inspire a ripple of compassion. These habits, though simple, accumulate into profound transformation. They teach us patience, discipline, and the quiet power of persistence. They remind us that greatness is not achieved in a moment of brilliance, but in the faithful repetition of small, meaningful actions over time. The role of habits extends beyond personal achievement. It shapes our relationships, our character, and the impact we have on others. A habit of listening deeply nurtures trust. A habit of empathy fosters connection. A habit of integrity builds respect. Each habit becomes a thread in the fabric of our influence, connecting our inner discipline to the external world in ways that are often subtle but deeply lasting. Ultimately, the mastery of habits is the mastery of life. By choosing actions that align with our values, nurturing routines that cultivate growth, and remaining vigilant against patterns that limit us, we take control of the forces that shape our future. Habits are not merely behaviors, they are the bridges between intention and achievement, between potential and reality. The life we aspire to live is born not in grand gestures alone, but in the quiet, repeated actions that define each day. In the mastery of habits, we discover the path to mastery over ourselves, and through ourselves, the power to shape our destiny. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and the world around us quietly shapes the way we think, feel, and act. The energy, words, and actions of those we encounter daily leave impressions on our minds, often without our conscious awareness. Each interaction, whether brief or prolonged, carries the power to influence our beliefs, our moods, and ultimately the decisions we make. To understand this subtle force is to recognize that no one moves through life in isolation. We are all shaped by the currents of the people and environments that surround us. The company we keep plays a profound role in shaping our character. When we surround ourselves with those who inspire, support, and challenge us, we are lifted to higher levels of thought and action. Their energy becomes a reflection in which we see what is possible for ourselves. Conversely, when we are consistently exposed to negativity, doubt, or complacency, these patterns can seep into our own mindset, limiting our potential and distorting our perception of what we are capable of achieving. This is not mere observation. It is a truth rooted in the psychology of human connection. Our minds are impressionable, and the influence of others is powerful because it often occurs silently, without resistance, shaping our behavior before we even realize it. Words are another vehicle of influence. A single phrase, a compliment, a word of encouragement, or even a criticism can leave a lasting imprint. Thoughtful words can inspire courage, foster creativity, and reinforce confidence. On the other hand, careless or hurtful words can instill doubt, fear, and hesitation. Understanding this power allows us to wield language responsibly, both in the way we speak to others and in the way we speak to ourselves. Positive reinforcement and constructive communication become tools not only for personal growth, but also for shaping the environment in which we live. Actions, even more than words, carry immense influence. Observing others' habits, routines, and attitudes provides a silent template that the mind absorbs. Humans are naturally inclined to mirror behaviors, often unconsciously, and this imitation can shape our decisions, our ethics, and our approach to challenges. By consciously choosing to spend time with those whose actions reflect the values we aspire to embody, we accelerate our own growth. Associations are not merely social choices. They are strategic decisions that can amplify our potential or hinder it. Awareness of social influence is the first step toward empowerment. We cannot always control the actions or words of others, but we can choose the circles in which we immerse ourselves, the voices we allow to shape our thoughts, and the environments in which we spend our energy. By doing so, we create a protective yet fertile space where our mind can thrive, guided by inspiration rather than distraction, by possibility rather than limitation. Ultimately, the subtlety of social influence teaches us that life is not just an internal journey, but an interconnected one. To master our destiny, we must honor the power of our associations, select companions and mentors with care, and consciously navigate the currents of influence around us. When done wisely, this awareness transforms our social environment into a force for growth, resilience, and achievement, shaping not only who we are, but who we have the potential to become. Fear, pride, and prejudice are forces that quietly yet powerfully shape the way we perceive the world. They act like invisible lenses, coloring our judgments and decisions, often without our conscious awareness. Cognitive biases, as psychologists call them, are not signs of weakness. They are part of being human, but they are also obstacles to clarity, fairness, and growth. To overcome them is to step into a higher level of understanding, to confront the illusions we tell ourselves, and to see both ourselves and the world with greater truth. Fear distorts perception in profound ways. It convinces us to avoid risks, to cling to comfort, and to misinterpret challenges as insurmountable. Fear whispers that failure is permanent, that our efforts are meaningless, and that the world is more dangerous than it truly is. When we allow fear to dominate our judgment, we shrink from opportunity and sabotage our own potential. The path to overcoming this is courage, not the absence of fear, but the ability to recognize fear, to confront it, and to act in spite of it. Courage clears the fog that fear creates and allows us to see the possibilities that once seemed hidden. Pride, too, can cloud our vision. When ego dictates decisions, we may cling to our own ideas, dismiss constructive feedback, or resist change even when it is necessary for growth. Pride convinces us that our perspective is absolute, limiting the capacity to learn from others or from experience. To overcome pride requires humility, the willingness to acknowledge that we do not have all the answers, that mistakes are opportunities for learning, and that growth often comes from perspectives outside our own. Humility opens the mind to insight and truth, transforming rigidity into adaptability. Prejudice, whether based on culture, experience, or preconceived notions, distorts reality by imposing false narratives on people and situations. It is a lens that separates rather than connects, that judges before understanding, and that limits empathy. Prejudice narrows perception and blinds us to the richness of human complexity. Overcoming prejudice demands intentional reflection, curiosity, and the courage to question assumptions. It is the act of seeing others and circumstances as they truly are, rather than as we fear or expect them to be. To challenge cognitive biases is to embark on a journey of honest self-reflection. It requires us to pause before reacting, to examine the thoughts and feelings behind our decisions, and to ask whether they are based on fact or on distorted perception. It is a deliberate practice of questioning assumptions, seeking evidence, and remaining open to perspectives that differ from our own. This process cultivates clarity of mind and integrity of judgment, allowing us to act wisely rather than react impulsively. The reward for overcoming cognitive biases is profound. We gain the ability to see the world as it truly is, to make decisions grounded in truth, and to navigate life with both confidence and humility. By recognizing the distortions of fear, pride, and prejudice, and by intentionally questioning our own assumptions, we cultivate a mind that is resilient, perceptive, and free. In this freedom, we find the power to live with authenticity, to lead with fairness, and to create a life guided not by illusion, but by understanding, wisdom, and truth.